So, this episode's gonna be all about Stripe and one of the founders, I guess, of Stripe, and it's gonna be interesting, and it's gonna hopefully also help quite a lot of people out there. So therefore, let's see after the intro, as always, because it's amazing. And with that being said, hello, welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And I'm really looking forward to recording this amazing episode. And it is hopefully going to be amazing. But I guess it is going to be amazing. But before we even go through the episode, there's 3 things that I'm willing to talk about. The first one is, if you're actually willing to listen to this, because I'm often assuming that a lot of people are just watching the YouTube video. But if you actually want to listen to it, there's also the podcast link down in the description. So if you want to listen to it, because it might be more effective for you, but definitely it is, at least in my point of view, gonna be way more efficient since you're able to do something simultaneously. You can just do whatever while you're actually listening to the podcast. The second thing is the notes. In this episode, there is going to be some notes, aka there is going to be some highlights that I'm having, or I'm going to highlight some things, and these highlights are then going to be down in the PDF, and you can download the PDF, which means that you can just also download the PDF afterwards, or just before you even go through the episode. You can download the PDF now, and you do not even have to go through the whole episode. You can just only read just the PDF, and that's quite it then. It's basically like a transcript, some sorta. And the third one is the music. If you want to add some background music to this video, then please check out the third link in the description. It should lead you to a Google Drives page. And there you can just choose a track. I think there are 5 to 6. I actually should look that up because I'm always talking about it. I think there's just several different tracks and you can choose between just all of them. And they all have a different genre. So just please choose the one that you like the most. But yeah, without further ado, we're going to go straight into what is Stripe. So, as you now can see on the left side of the screen, there is Stripe, and there is also the logo, and I actually like the logo just really a lot. It is fairly simple, as you can see, or as you always can see. If it is a big corporation like Stripe actually is, then they're always going to have a simple logo. Either it's going to just be some text, or it's just some sort of a symbol like Apple is having, and it's just something like both. I don't know what it is called in English, but I know what it is called in German, unfortunately. So there's different kinds of brands. You're having just a picture brand, some kind of, and then you're having a type brand, and sometimes you're having both, as you are having it with, for example, what is a good example? I think Nike would be a good example, because you're having the swoosh and you're also having the Nike font, or the Nike quote-unquote font logo, whatever you want to call it. I actually don't know. But but they're just only having this font or this type thingy here. And it was founded in September 29th, 2011, which means it is 8 years old, or it has been 8 years ago. The headquarters are in San Francisco, California, and the area served is Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Italy, Ireland, Japan, Hong Kong, Luxembourg, Malaysia, Mexico, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Singapore, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, and the United States. And there's also a beta in Portugal and a private beta in Brazil, Mexico, India, and Greece. I do actually find it pretty interesting that that there's only a private beta in India, because I assume that there's going to just be a lot of traffic in India, even though it is like a payment service. But I do think there is going to be a lot of payment, especially also in India, because there's a lot of people and probably also quite some companies. But yeah, maybe they're just progressing in that. The founders are Patrick Collison and John Collison. They're actually brothers, as far as I know. I guess. Not quite sure about that though. And the CEO is Patrick Collison. And we're also going to go through Patrick Collison on his own. And so we're going to have a look at him and see what he was doing, a little bit on his life, and also advice that he's giving on his actual page. And I was inspired by that, or just to go through that and talk about that, by Tim Ferriss and his conversation with Patrick Collison. It is pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. The conversation is a pretty good one. And I would also say that Patrick isn't like such a person that does not like to talk. He seems to be quite open to answer also quite personal questions, which is not necessarily always something that people are doing. Often they do, of course. Often they do, just because they are on a podcast and because it maybe also makes sense to them that there might be some personal questions before going into that actually. But some people are just a little bit closed, I would say. Not that open, but it's just pretty interesting to see. The industry is the payment processor or payment processors. I would say, for example, PayPal is as well, as far as I know. And the services are payments, subscriptions, Connect, Sigma, Relay, Atlas, Radar, which is fraud prevention, issuing, and terminal. They're having 2,000 plus employees by September 2019, and their website is stripe.com, and the current status is active. Yeah, I've assumed that. But let's actually see what's like a little bit of their history, maybe. Stripe is an American technology company based in San Francisco, California. Its software allows individuals and businesses to make and receive payments over the internet. As I've been talking about before, PayPal is also doing. And I don't know, I think PayPal was founded earlier. And the question now is, why was there a need for Stripe? Because it merged. It definitely emerged, and it definitely is a pretty big company now, but, it hasn't always been a big company. Why did people need it? It would actually be quite an interesting question, but I don't know the answer to it, which is kind of a problem there. By the way, something that I should be talking about actually is this article contains content that is written like an advertisement. It is actually really cool, and I liked it so much that Wikipedia is doing that, because it's probably and not necessarily something that you just know as well or you just recognize as well, but it's just so amazing that they are pointing it out and just, making you aware of that, so that you just know what is going on and whatnot. It's cool. I like that. I really like that. The history. Irish entrepreneurs John and Patrick Collison founded Stripe in 2010. In June 2010, Stripe received seed funding from Y Combinator, a startup accelerator. In May 2011, Stripe received a $2 million investment from venture capitalist Peter Thiel. I know some people might know him, some people don't know him, and also Andreessen Horowitz. Some people might know him as well, and some people might not know him, but they are definitely two really, really quite famous people as well. Also authors, as far as I know, both of them. And Sequoia Capital, which is a firm that I don't know, but some people might know it. In February 2012, Stripe received an 18 million Series A investment led by Sequoia Capital at a 100 million valuation. Stripe launched publicly in September 2011 after an extensive private beta. Less than a year after its public launch, Stripe received a 20 million Series B investment. In March 2013, Stripe acquired chat and task management application Kickoff. 2016, Stripe was valued at over 9 billion when it raised a 150 million round. In its next founding round in September 2018, Stripe received a 20 billion valuation while raising 245 million. Which is insane. Of course it is a good company, and of course I think also the people that are investing into the company know that it is just a good company with a good concept and also probably good leaders, which is just a fairly big part of having a good company, at least in my point of view. And I think it would also be just a pretty huge factor for investing into it or not. If you are seeing that the founders and or the person or the people that are leading the company aren't really competent or maybe aren't gonna just lead it in a good way or whatnot, I don't know, then I think people would also not really invest into it. Kinda, obviously. Kinda also not obviously. But still pretty interesting to know, I would say. Or something. Let's see. In 2019, Stripe raised an additional 100 million in a Series E round from investment firm Tiger Global Management, boosting the payment startup's valuation to 22.5 billion. Currently, Stripe is operating across 4 engineering hubs in Seattle, Dublin, San Francisco, and Singapore. In September 2019, Stripe raised 250 million in a new funding round to take its enterprise value to 35 billion. The question that I'm now having is, why do they need to raise so much money? Is it important to them to just keep their company going? Or is it just because of their evaluation or their value? Or just because of stocks, even though it is privately held? So I don't know if there are any stocks. I don't think so. No, because it's private, I guess. But it's or is it just for equity for some people? For those management firms or investment firms or whatever it might be all about. But pretty interesting though. Really interesting to see that. I didn't know that there is, I thought okay, in the first, just if you're a startup, then you're just having a lot of investments and a lot of funds and whatnot. But after you've just emerged your company and it is growing and whatnot, I think you do not really need investments. But I might be wrong there, and because I'm not educated. I really am not educated. Nothing. Nada niente. I don't know anything about that. I really don't. So I'm not going to talk, So there's also the funding history. 35 billion. It is quite something. It really is something. Payment logistics. Stripe provides APIs that web developers can use to integrate payment processing into their websites and mobile applications. In April 2019, the company released anti-fraud tools that run alongside payment APIs to block fraudulent transactions, which is amazing. The company expanded its services to include a billing product for online businesses. The new service operates within a Stripe platform, allowing businesses to manage subscription, recurring revenue, and invoicing. And there's also a lot of other things that they're doing, or it seems to be the case that they're doing that, a lot of different things, but I'm not going to go through it. So if we're now having a quick look at both founders, I guess, let's actually talk about John Collison at first. John Collison, born 1990, is an Irish entrepreneur. He's best known for having co-founded Stripe with his brother. Now we know that it is his brother, Patrick. The brothers are worth at least 2.1 billion each. It's amazing. Like, it's quite something. But I do also have to say, like, you have to have some capabilities to do something like that. Founding is just the first part. Founding a company might not be that of a just complicated thing, or that of a difficult thing. Of course, you need an idea and all those things. Like, there is, of course, some things that you just need to be able to do. But leading a company for several years, as a founder, as a CEO, as a whatnot, is just something that not everybody or anybody can do. It is what it is. As not everyone is able to just be a YouTuber, as not everyone is gonna be a fucking rapper, as not everyone is gonna be, or anyone, well, actually everyone is gonna be able to just be a professional athlete. We are not meant to do something like that, at least not all of us. Some people are meant to do something like that, and some people are not meant to do something like that. And I think it is incredibly important to just be honest to yourself about these things. What are you good at? What are you completely not good at? And all those things. So I, for example, I would actually like to just be good at programming, because sometimes it would actually be handy to understanding the software, to also maybe being able to be a little bit faster, I guess, but I'm not that good in maths. And I don't know, I kind of have a feeling that this would actually be, or it is, as I've also found out, because I've tried out a bunch of things, and through my diploma, or because of my diploma, I thought, like, well, let's just program a new software so that I can do the thing that I'm willing to do, maybe in a better way, because I'm just, at this point in time, I'm having a software, but I'm not that happy with it, and therefore I thought, like, well, maybe I should just do it on my own, maybe I should just do my own thing and whatnot, but it's difficult. It really is difficult. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do something like that. I've been able to get around this problem just fairly easy with AppleScript. It is not a pretty difficult language to learn or difficult language to just write in or just program in, but the capabilities of it aren't that huge, unless like huge in terms of like, you can do a lot of things. Of course, you can do a lot of things, but the question now is like, is it going to be like meant to be doing this? Like, of course, if you're just talking about C# or if you're talking about C++ or Python, which is actually a pretty easy one, but still a very, very just powerful one, they are meant to do quite a lot of things. I don't know if AppleScript is meant to be able to be used for writing like games, 3D games. I don't think so. So therefore, like, there's always going to be some trade-offs, I guess. After San Francisco-based Stripe raised $150 million from Capital G, an investment division of Google parent company Alphabet, and General Catalyst Partners. In 2007, Collison founded Shoppa with his older brother Patrick in Limerick, Ireland. The company later merged to Octomatic, which was funded by Y Combinator, and Collison moved to Silicon Valley, which is something that I guess a lot of people are going to do because it also makes sense, because there is all the people, there is all the connections, and there's probably also all the other companies that you might be in need of. Automatic was a software company that built tools for the eBay platform. The company was also funded by Chris Sacca. Automatic was acquired... Octomatic was acquired for $5 million in March 2008 when Collison was 17. 17. I'm nearly 19 now. I'm gonna turn 19 in 2 weeks or something. Actually, in next week. This week. No, next week. Today is Sunday. Next week. It is amazing. Like, think about that. Have you been doing or been able to do something when you've been 17? I don't know, And also, if we are thinking about it, like, he founded it in 2007, which makes him 16. 16! I don't know how old his brother was, and I don't know how much of an impact his brother had on him, probably a pretty big one, and how much his brother did for that, in terms of like, okay, I'm just the younger brother, and I'm just a pretty important tool, or a pretty important, not really tool, it sounds so negative actually, but a pretty important part of the whole thing, but in the end, it is quite like, my brother did everything, and I'm only like the person that just added my values to it. Of course, in the end, they just needed both of them, or we needed both of them quite for letting them be able to just do whatever they did then. But I think you know what I mean. In 2009, Collison, having returned to finish second school at Castletroy College, received 8 A1 and 2 A2 grades in the Irish Leaving Certificate examination. He continued to study at Harvard University, commencing his studies in September 2009. Collison is a pilot and pianist. A pilot. Interesting. In 2010, Collison co-founded Stripe, which received backing from Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Max Levchin, and Sequoia Capital. Fucking interesting. We're not going to go through his brother because there's also his page. It's not this one, but it is this one. And it is actually like his advice page, and I've been talking about before, but before we're even going to go through that, we're going to talk about the about page. And I'm actually willing to show that to you in this way, actually. I hope it's better like that. I don't even know if this is better, since it's like everything on the left side and whatnot. But yeah. So I live in San Francisco and I work at Stripe. I grew up in Ireland and previously studied math at MIT. I'm on the boards of Stripe and the Long Now Foundation. The long term is underrated. Email, blah, 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 blah. Elsewhere, he's on GitHub and on Twitter. Interviews. A few interviews from the past few years, They're mostly about Stripe, but other topics make their way into it too. Podcasts. Tim Ferriss, Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg? Is Mark Zuckerberg having a podcast? I actually have to look that up. I interview Tyler Cohen, Reid Hoffman, John Chili, but I don't know if, I see. It's on Facebook. Tech in Progress with Patrick Collison, and they actually have a fucking podcast. Today, Mark Zuckerberg shot the final video for his 2019 personal challenge. He sat down with Patrick Collison, CEO of Stripe, and Tyler Cohen, an economist at George Mason University, to discuss what drivers progress and how to accelerate it. What drivers progress? Wow, this is pretty interesting though. I might be having a look at this, even though it's an hour and 8, as far as I can tell. Yeah, it's an hour and 8, which is not that long, but you can download the transcript. I might have a look at this, or we might have a look at this. Oh wow, it's a long one. It indeed is pretty long. But yeah, let's talk about the advice page and let's see what advice he's having for people from 10 to 20, which is definitely me, and also from 20 to 30. So there's going to be something for quite a lot of people there. I think, I assume, I hope. Every now and again, someone emails me and asks for general advice. How do I change the world? ? With the caveat that I've only lived a fraction of one life and I'm still trying to figure things out. There is the advice I would give past me. If you are 10 to 20, these are prime years. Go deep on things, become an expert. In particular, try to go deep on multiple things. To varying degrees, I try to go deep on languages, programming, writing, physics, math. Some of those stuck more than others. One of the main things you should try to achieve by age 20 is some sense of which kinds of things you enjoy doing. This probably won't change a lot throughout your life, and so you should try to discover the shape of that space as quickly as you can, which I think just really makes sense, figuring out your life, figuring out what you actually like to be doing, because in the very early just days of your life, from 10 to 20, which is actually really, really prime time, I think it is just fairly easy to do so, because there's nothing that you have to care about, there's no family, there's no kids, there's no whatever, so you can just really focus on what you would actually like to be doing. And also just because you're having the time for doing that and also the energy for doing that, so it's just really good time to do that, at least in my point of view. Don't stress out too much about how... I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit. It's fairly close for me. Don't stress out too much about how valuable the things you're going deep on are, but don't ignore it either. It should be a factor you weigh, but not by itself dispositive. To the extent that you enjoy working hard, do. To the extent that you enjoy working hard, do. Subject to that constraint is not clear that the returns to effort ever diminish substantially. If you're lucky enough to enjoy it a lot, be grateful and take full advantage. Yes, I would say so as well. Make friends over the internet with people who are great at things you're interested in. The internet is one of the biggest advantages you have over prior generations, so leverage it. And I would say so as well, it is an amazing advantage that we're having over all the fucking generations that were before us. Aim to read a lot. Something that I'm not that good at, but if you think something is important but people older than you don't hold it in high regard. These are reasons. There is a reasonable chance that you are right and they are wrong. Status lags by a generation or more. Yes, it actually makes sense. Let's talk about YouTube. Let's talk about YouTube and me doing it quite a lot, and my parents being like, well, I mean, like, it is good what you're doing, but maybe you should just be learning for school and shit. Above all else, don't make the mistake of judging your success based on your current peer group. By all means, make friends, but being weird as a teenager is generally good. But having good social skills confers lifelong benefits, so don't write them off. Get good at making a good first impression, being funny if possible. This author still working on it. Speaking publicly is also a pretty good thing, as he says. Make things. Operating in a space with a lot of uncertainty is a very different experience than learning something. It really indeed is. More broadly, nobody's going to teach you to think for yourself. A large fraction of what people around you believe is mistaken. Internalize this and practice coming up with your own worldview. The correlation between it and those around you shouldn't be too strong unless you think you were especially lucky in your initial conditions. If you're in the US and go to a good school, there are a lot of forces that will push you towards following train tracks laid by others rather than charting a course yourself. Make sure that the things you're pursuing are weird things that you want to pursue, not whether the standard path is. Heuristic, do your friends at school think your path is a bit strange? If not, maybe it is too normal. Figure out a way to travel to San Francisco and to meet other people who have moved there to pursue their dreams. Why San Francisco? San Francisco is this Schelling point for high openness and smart, energetic, optimistic people. Global Weird HQ, as he calls it. Take advantage of opportunities to travel to other places too, of course. Find vivid examples of success in the domains you care about. If you want to become a great scientist, try to find ways to spend time with good or ideally great scientists in person. Watch YouTube videos of interviews, follow some on Twitter. People who do great things often did so at very surprisingly young ages. They were gray-haired when they become famous, not when they did the work. So hurry up and you can do great things. But if you're 20 to 30, I don't know yet. I plan to think about this when I'm 35 to 40. So I'm very sorry for those people that actually are 20 to 30. I think what age is he now? He's 31 now. And he looks fairly nice. He really looks nice, at least in this picture, But pictures say more than 1,000 words, as people say, which I'm not quite sure of sometimes. Most often I am kinda, but not always. But yeah, I think that's gonna be the end of the episode. There's gonna be a second episode. I'm looking forward to recording this one. And I actually forgot about I've actually forgotten about highlighting some things. But yeah, never mind. I'll see you the next time, and therefore I'm wishing you the best health, happiness, and also success, and also hope that you're going to remind yourself and you're going to be remembered, which basically means your legacy, which basically means just being a good person and then being remembered as a good person. 3 other questions that I'm having for you are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? These 3 are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe even a business idea, since a lot of companies started out with solving something that really pissed them off in the first place. But yeah, I'm going to see you the next time. I at least hope.